I respect Premier Smith. I respect that she's concerned about protecting her energy, and that's her choice. That is her choice. But I have a little different theory. I have a different theory that protect your jurisdiction, but country comes first.
With just hours away from President-elect Donald Trump being sworn in as the U.S.'s 47th president, the threat of tariffs remains a large and looming large over Canada, with no leader of our country. Hello, I'm Adrienne. With me are Brian Lilley and Warren Kinsella. Brian, for weeks now since the threat of 25% tariffs onto Canada from the U.S. has been looming over this country with a rudderless, feckless leadership federally. The premiers have stepped in to show some leadership, to show that someone needs to push back against this. They recently all gathered in Ottawa, and I'm wondering what really has been the result of the premiers having to say no to the U.S. and fight back against this, as opposed to our prime minister.
Well, I think it would have been better if the federal government were more involved. I'll say that Justin Trudeau looked like a different man being with the premiers on Wednesday. He seemed relaxed. He seemed at ease, like the world had been lifted off his shoulders. He's even making jokes with Scott Moe. So, it was a different Justin Trudeau. But he had to be dragged into that meeting by the premiers. Then they have the meeting. Doug Ford wanted dollar for dollar, real tough retaliatory tariffs on anything the Americans brought in. Danielle Smith wanted nothing, especially not on oil. And what did we end up with? Kind of a coming up the middle, where we're going to have a soft rollout, and putting any restrictions or extra tariffs on oil will be the last thing that we do as we ratchet up. I'm not sure it's the right response, but it's the response that they came out with. And, while the premiers tried to show unity, including the fact that most of them showed up at a joint press conference with Justin Trudeau. They were supposed to have competing press conferences. They showed up together. Danielle Smith wasn't there and released a statement saying, here's why I can't. She has a very different political reality than everyone else. There's no way the Premier of Alberta can agree with what the feds want to do on this. And so she's facing her own problems on that and taking a lot of hits for it.
Warren, certainly Premier Smith has very important and significant things with respect to the province of Alberta that she needs to put front and center. She went down to Mar-a-Lago. She spoke to President-elect Donald Trump face to face, had a lot of time with him. And then Premier Ford in Ontario, who's sort of been leading the first ministers on this issue, showed up with a very important message to President Trump. We certainly know the power of a message on a hat. Donald Trump did it with MAGA. And here's Doug Ford, Warren, with his Canada is not for sale hat, sends a strong message. What's your take?
I love the hat. I love the hat. Everybody I've talked to loved the hat. Everybody I know has gone and bought it. I went and bought a hat on Wednesday night. I just thought it was brilliant. And it was just, as Brian said, he and I were doing a TV thing together, and Brian said, Doug Ford is the only politician in Canada who can pull this off. So it was brilliant, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful, to use a Donald Trump word, because it expressed something that all of us in the country feel. We wanted somebody to say that, and Doug Ford came out and said that, number one. So he's the winner. Who's the loser? And I say this as an Albertan. I say this as somebody who has worked many years for the oil patch. I love Canadian oil. I love Canadian energy. But, okay, what's the entity that's really good at threatening to turn off the taps in order to get policy changes, in order to get the pricing they want? Oil companies, OPEC, right? The oil industry knows how to use their clout and the threat of turning off the taps in order to get what they want. So for Smith to come out initially and say Donald Trump's right about everything was a huge mistake, because he's not, right? You got Stephen Harper saying that he was shocked by what Trump had to say. So that was mistake number one. Her mistake number two was going down to Mar-a-Lago with her cap in hand, you know, looking like the water boy or something, and coming back with nothing for Alberta. And then her third mistake was not even going to the premier's meeting and sending off some communique from Panama, where I don't know if she's on vacation or whatever, but she was in Panama. Like, she's just playing this all wrong. The oil companies that I grew up working for, and no, you use your power as an energy power. You threaten to turn off the taps in order to get the ultimate customer to pay attention. She didn't do that.
Or not. I mean, maybe she is playing this well. Brian, you never know how this stuff can unfold. I will disagree with Warren on one aspect of this. I think it was important for her to go meet with President Trump face to face. But look, at the end of all of this, what's coming out of the premiers, from the premiers, and our current prime minister as he remains in that role, is that we need to fight back with our own, shall we say, retaliatory tariffs, Brian?
That's the view of most of them. And look, Danielle Smith, I'll disagree with Warren as well. I thought it was a smart move for Justin Trudeau to go to Mar-a-Lago. I think it was a smart move for Danielle Smith to go. And what she told journalists, and what I got from speaking to Kevin O'Leary, who was there with her, was that she wasn't trying to cut a side deal with Trump just for Alberta oil. She was trying to speak for all of Canada. That's what we have been calling on politicians of all stripes to do. Justin Trudeau even said, look, I have no problem with that. We need everyone using any connection they have. But she has a very different reality. And if this government had not spent the last several years trying to shut down the oil industry with emissions caps, with Bill C-69, with attack after attack on the oil industry, they might have a more receptive hearing when they say, now we need a Team Canada approach. Really, because the rest of Team Canada has been saying, you need to shut down. And now they're saying, we need you. That's why they're at odds. I was surprised, though, because Francois Legault, Andrew Furey, I almost said Anthony Furey again, Andrew Furey from Newfoundland, and David Eby all came on side with Ford's view. Quebec sells an awful lot of electricity, and that is pure profit for the government of Quebec because they own the hydro company. But Francois Legault, he has said before he didn't want to put that on the table. Now he says he's willing to. Premier Furey, another oil-producing province, his analogy was, you don't take the queen off the table when you're playing chess. You may not want to use the queen, but you want her on the table. So that was impressive to see that turn around. I had been at an event with Furey back in December, and he just wanted to fight the Americans, like on everything, which is a completely reckless position as well. And so did David Eby. They've all come on board with the semi-united message of, if you hit us, we'll hit you back hard. That's probably the best message we have when negotiating with someone like Trump.
Okay, Warren, last word to you. As we've already talked about, Premier Ford's hat certainly spoke volumes for most Canadians. And I'm wondering, 6 months' time from now, some hypotheticals here, Warren, we may have an election. We may have a new government. We hope we have a new government. What changes with the United States? Because the other thing that's coming up next year in 2026 is the renegotiation of USMCA.
Well, I think the reason why Trump made the statements he made about drugs and illegal aliens is because he wanted to step outside of the USMCA. The only way he could do that, because it's a treaty, was to cite national security. So that's why he did that. And that's why it was nonsense, at least insofar as fentanyl goes. So, but he's not the only leader who's ever done that. But I think, the point that people like me have been making, and now Harper and Chrétien and Doug Ford and many others, we got to take it seriously. He's not joking. Like, as Brian pointed out yesterday, it felt like a joke at the start. It's not a joke anymore. It's not funny anymore. We need to take it seriously. There's things we can do short term as a country. Team Canada approach, retaliatory tariffs that really bite. And then long term, we got to look at, better trading relationship with Europe. We got to think about the future of NATO, because I think that's now in peril. There's many things that we can and should be doing. And until we get a strong national government in this country, we're not going to have that.
So will Canada fight back with our own tariffs against the US? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to thetorontosun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.